Tell me a bit about the family and what you'd like to get out of talking about the family.
Well, I'd like to have a good visual description of what the present situation is, and I'd like to have a look at family dynamics and to identify potential risk here. So I'm working with a young woman called Amy, and she has been in a relationship with Josh, but that's finished quickly in pregnancy. She has a little boy who's called Matthew, and he's 6 months old now.
And how old's Amy?
She was 15 actually when she conceived this little boy, so she's 16 now.
And who else is there in the family?
Well, she has 3 other siblings, and they're full siblings. So there's an older brother called Edward, he's 17. And she has 2 younger sisters, Claire and Sarah. Claire's 10, Sarah's 7.
Okay, what about her mum and dad?
Well, her parents split when Amy was 11. They are Laura and Edward. And there was a lot of domestic abuse within that relationship, which Amy has started to open up about.
Was there any violence towards any of the children, or was it just between there?
I don't think there was directly, but Amy certainly talks about being scared of her father. And she does present as a kind of quiet young woman, quite withdrawn, and I'm guessing she may have coped with this violence by becoming small and withdrawing.
Okay.
She describes her brother as being very like her dad.
Okay.
And interestingly, they're named the same.
And is there anybody else that's important in the family that you'd like to tell me about?
Well, she does have a good relationship with her maternal grandmother, who's called Betty. She seems to be quite a strong maternal figure. And she describes the relationship with her mother as being okay, but I think her mother was always really quite busy with these 4 children, and then was out at work quite a bit. And Amy has talked about actually having, because my mum went to work, as being a carer for her younger siblings quite a lot.
Okay. And can you tell me a little bit about the relationship between Amy and the baby's dad? Is there any contact between the dad and the baby?
No.
No. Okay, so there's been a break in contact there.
She hasn't wanted that. She certainly didn't want any contact with Josh at all, because he was quite violent towards her, and I think she conceived under quite difficult circumstances. She feels she was plied with drink, and then he raped her.
Right.
So his parents would like to have some involvement, but Josh doesn't.
And any sort of stepbrothers or sisters or
Yeah,
anything?
she has a sister called Lola, who's actually a daughter of her father, and she's 25 now, and she lives away. She lives in Portsmouth.
Okay, so just tell me a little bit about Amy and her decision to get rid of Josh.
Well, I think it was mutual. I don't think Josh wanted a lot to do with her, but he has been quite abusive in terms of being intimidating, following her at times, being on the same bus as her, perhaps, that sort of thing. So, and being quite antagonistic on social media. She's quite scared of him. And in fact, she's talked about moving away to live with Lola in Portsmouth just to escape the situation. We've had a lot of conversations about that because obviously she's only 16 and really quite vulnerable, I think, to that situation, because her mother does offer her some support and some protection. But she's very frightened of this young man.
So what would you see as a sort of the resilient factors in this family?
Well, I do think Amy's very insightful, actually. I think she's learnt from her parents' relationship some ideas of what's healthy, what isn't. And although she's only 16, she's been quite mature in her decision to finish with Josh and realises the long-term implications of his behaviour if he was to stay around. So I think Amy herself is a protective factor. Her mother, to some extent, although her mother is a little bit, well, you're pregnant now, you've had a baby, get on with it. And she does have some protective factor with her maternal grandmother, but now she's becoming quite unwell. So sometimes it's hard to identify a kind of reliable, regular adult figure for her.
And what's the impact of the pregnancy been on Claire and Sarah?
I think they've been quite excited, actually. But that's kind of quite an interesting family dynamic because Claire gets on better with her father than Sarah does. So I think Claire spends quite a lot of time with her father. So, and because Amy doesn't get on well with her father, that makes her relationship with Claire difficult. She has acted as a carer, as I've said, for these two a lot.
And so it is the mum stepping into the role of caring more for her two younger daughters because Amy's occupied with Matthew?
Yes, I think she is. Amy and her mum probably only see each other once a week. So yes, I think she is now doing that, or having to do that.
And what about Edward in all of this?
Well, I don't think he's appeared like he's bothered either way, and Amy certainly describes that she's had quite a difficult antagonistic relationship with her brother. I think as Edward's getting older, that is getting better, and is starting to take more interest in Matthew. So, because again, I guess what we're looking at here is a lack of male figure here for this little boy. So, if that relationship between Edward and Matthew were to continue, then that would be a possible sort of positive male identification for him.
Yeah. And what about talking about males in the family? Edward, the dad, is he interested in Matthew?
I think yes, I think he's starting to be.
Okay. So if we can draw a pause there, I'd just like to think with you about what has drawn out by drawing a genogram out of the really clear narrative that you've given of the family dynamics.
Well, it's helpful to actually identify the lack of positive males here, which for a young boy I think is particularly important. It's helped me to identify that actually Amy's quite isolated. She doesn't talk about having many friends in addition to her family. So I think to me identifies her as quite a vulnerable, lonely young woman, although she is resourceful.
So my reflections of having listened to you are to think a little bit more about the rape and the situation in which Matthew arrived in the world, because it's very easy to focus just on the baby. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Well, she didn't press charges, and I think she felt there was no evidence, and there was certainly an element of self-blame within Amy that she shouldn't have been in that situation, she shouldn't have been drunk, and therefore she should not have been vulnerable to that situation. So she did blame herself over that situation, which did alert me to perhaps see how this she's learnt how to be with men from her relationship with her own father, and also to be alert to risk in the future about future abusive relationships, and to unpick with her a little bit what she's learned from this and how she may choose partners differently in the future.
And do you think there's any residual impact on her of the rape that's affecting her and her relationship with Matthew now?
That's an interesting question. I'm not aware of that. I haven't asked her that question specifically, but I have watched the attachment with him, and I'm not seeing anything that worries me in that respect.
Yeah. In particular, I mean, she might get memories if Matthew looks like Josh, and that can often compound things. So you're aware that she might need some more help in the future to think about that?
Yes.
Yeah. Good. Okay, thank you very much.